Welcome to another episode of Retrospective Gaming. In this video, I'm reviewing Betrayal at Club Low. It's been a while since I did a review. The last two games I covered on this channel were games that I already reviewed in the past. I was just revisiting them, doing a retrospective. And now, it's time to do a review. It's time to come back. Slowly, but surely. And of course, there are spoilers in the video. You have been warned. Tabletop games and the almighty dice roll, the invisible hand guiding us. Now in video games, there are games out there that try to use dice rolls, rule sets, and things like that, but we don't see many games out there trying to emulate the tabletop experience. And while there are similarities between video games and tabletop games, they're also wildly different. Betrayal at Club Low is a video game emulating a tabletop scenario, complete with the almighty dice roll and someone guiding you through every step. And I don't mean holding your hand. If you've ever played a tabletop game before, you know what I'm talking about. Think of it as the voice in your head narrating every step, a guide helping you through every part of the scenario, helping to paint a picture in your head to visualize the experience, to be descriptive, to let you know what's going on. Your every move. My knowledge of tabletop RPGs is limited. I've read about some of them, I've played video games that use rule sets, I've watched a bunch of people play them online. But limited knowledge is still limited knowledge. And since the world of tabletop role-playing games, pen and paper RPGs, and role-playing systems, since it's so vast, you could be an expert in Dungeons and Dragons but run into Space Opera from 1980 and feel like it's the first time you played one. The first time I was introduced to a tabletop game was because of a Newgrounds Flash game. I played it a couple years after it was uploaded, and it was a small demo. It was a game called Toon, and all I remember is that you could play as a crazy egomaniacal cat, and there was stats like muscle and zip, and there was other options for classes like kleptomaniac and magic abuser, and you could play as other animals too, but it was only a small demo, so I could only play as the crazy egomaniacal cat. I read the description and found out that this is loosely based off a real tabletop RPG from the early 1980s called Toon. And one of the people that worked on it was Warren Spector. If you know Ultima Underworld or Deus Ex or Looking Glass Studios, you know who Warren Spector is. And I gotta say this, don't sleep on Flash. There was a lot of great movies, games, there's just a lot of entertaining things that came out because of Flash. And this is a demo that was uploaded to Newgrounds in 2003, a Flash game with a lot of ambition. And unfortunately, while it was never completed, don't sleep on Flash. It may be quote unquote dead, but is it really? As long as someone remembers something, then it made its impact. Even down to the most obscure demo of a Flash game, or the obscure series that only got a couple of parts that maybe 10,000 people watched. There's always someone out there that will remember that as part of their childhood, or just something that they'll pop up at the end of the day, and they'll want to just look back and reminisce. Respect Flash. And with that being said, let me tell you about my experiences with Betrayal at Club Low. It all starts in the middle of the city. Your goal is to save another agent named Gemini J, and you, the unknown hero, the foot soldier, the undercover agent, is tasked with going into this club called Club Low. A club of wonders, amusement, oddity, and danger. And what is one of the main tools that will lead you to your success? The thing that you need to start off on this mission. The secret weapon. It's a pizza delivery costume. That's right. You're a pizza delivery person. And that's how you get in. And that's what you're undercover as. Now, I can't get this out of my head. The character. The person you play as. The unknown hero. The undercover agent. To me, he looks like Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen if he was made in a Def Jam Fight for New York character creation thing. And I just can't get that out of my head. I'm not saying that was the goal of the character. I'm not saying that's what they were going for. But to me, I just can't get Dr. Manhattan out of my head. Club Low is a small place, but it's dense with a lot of odd, eccentric, wacky personalities and things inside of it and going on. And as with any mission in life, it's rarely what it seems, and you take one goal, it turns into a bunch of small things because you have to deal with everyone else's problems in there as well. And the biggest strength in Club Low's story is that not only it keeps you invested with its twists, the turns, the alternative agendas, the backstabbing, etc., everyone's own goal, which one would expect in a story about undercover agents, but it also balances a welcoming, charming atmosphere mixed with a fuck you And I mean for starters, some of your biggest tasks early on in the game, which is important because it's about you having going to the club in the first place, is worrying about some stew that is more important than it seems and trying to charm guards by many means, including empathizing or bluffing to get inside the front or the side doors. Surrounded by all this is a constant trial by fire, because the dice rolling, it's a mix of anxiety and euphoria. And it's plaguing you, but it also blesses you throughout this surreal mindfuck of a story between executives, DJs, gangsters, weirdos with masks, and whatever the fuck is going on inside this club, which, trust me, there's more than meets the eye. 1 minute, your lovely main character is self-conscious about a laser door. The fear that an inanimate object might be judging his musical ability. You go from that to debating the concept of ownership, to someone that can kill you easily, to someone that can have you disappear to you don't even want to know where. Trust me, after looking at this place for 5 minutes, you can only imagine what place you could be banished off to if you mess up. A big part of any game is what emotions they evoke and how. Club Low. It's advertised as a place that's deceptively dangerous, and those two words define the game perfectly. And what does that mean exactly? It means look can be deceiving, and just because it looks goofy and surreal, it doesn't mean that it can't bite your head off in an instant. It means you can get wrapped into a false sense of security. On the surface, it just looks so goofy, surreal, centric, but ultimately harmless and not something to be taken seriously. I mean, in the first 10 minutes, you're fighting with puddles, you're fighting with people in a line, you're making pizza ingredients, and you find out that on this fateful night, a popular act, someone that everyone's waiting for, their name is Chad Blueprint, and you're a pizza delivery person, that's your disguise. And you dance funny, and you look funny, but what does this game advertise itself as? Deceptively dangerous. And that is what it is. I assumed that it was going to be some overly memey cakewalk, and I didn't take it seriously until I passed out, even before I got into the side door. I rushed into a grapple session with the security guard and lost. And the negative effect of that really fucked me over. And this game fucks with you. Nothing ever seems so simple. Yeah, you're on a secret mission, but everyone else has their own agendas that involve more than having a good time. There's certain hints about it because looking at the loading screens, when people talk about this club, a lot of the times it seems like, okay, they want to go there, but there's something drawing them there. Or people making jokes about how this club fell off, or there's just something that draws everyone in. What I talked about before, agendas. And when I finally felt like I got the answer, something else pops up. It was a red herring. It wasn't what it seemed. And even though Club Low takes place in a small club, it's not a big game, but it's dense, with very little filler. Betrayal at Club Low is an experience that pushes you, and I mean it pushes you to walk a fine line between taking chances and not pushing your luck, which is easier said than done. And this game reminded me of a fundamental rule of my life. Don't gamble, because for someone like me, I have a bad habit of going for it no matter how low the chances are. Even if I have a 1% chance of winning, I just have to take that risk, which sometimes it can work out. It can be beneficial. But most of the time, let's be honest, it's gonna fuck you over. There's just something in me that just, call it impulsive, irrational sometimes, just you have to go through the fire without preparing. You have to take that chance no matter what. It's just something, even if it's a small chance. And this game loves punishing players like me, but you also can't play it safe. You can't concern yourself with not rolling that dice again, not risking a bad stat, or losing a nerve, because you'll never get anywhere. And that is the god, it's like juggling 2 sticks of fucking dynamite and trying to not to fucking explode, because that's what Betrayal at Club Low is. It is a mind fuck. It is a very heavy psychological effect. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I've played this on and off for months and months and months and months. And sometimes I take breaks from this game because I'll just sit there staring at the fucking screen thinking, should I take this jacket for a little boost even though I'm probably going to fail? And then I just sit there You don't know if it's worth it. It's Iron Man mode and staring at the screen, contemplating the universe, life choices, and a bunch of other shit I don't need to think about because I'm nervous to roll a damn dice. And all this means that I was hooked on Club Low from the beginning. As soon as you start, you are dropped into the city, and at first glance, it reminded me a bit of Psychonauts, just a bit. Everything is distorted. The buildings lean and are shaped in an odd way. It almost looks like the complex with the blue paint spray is trying to eat you. The buildings are rocking up and down, shaking, trying their best to get you to notice them. You need a plank to cross the street because of something that resembles lava. It looks like lava, and when you talk to someone, the background blurs out a bit, which adds to its feeling that you are on a very long bizarro trip. It's surreal. It's odd. It's a visual attack of the bizarre, screaming from the very start to look at you, to look at its direction, and looking at you. And look at our character. Look at the spy. Eyes are glowing, and like I said before, it looks like someone tried making Dr. Manhattan and a character creator. On top of that, our spy is wearing a pizza cap and backpack. Betrayal at Club Low has a distinct look, and unfortunately, some people might brush it to the side because they might mistake it for something that is low effort, or a cheap Unity game, or a forgettable browser game, or some low effort experience, but no. Betrayal at Club Low takes this look and utilizes it to its advantage. Yeah, it's not conventionally appealing, whatever the fuck that means, but game development, like everything else in life, is not just about how much money or people or resources in general you have. It's about how you use it. And whether this style is made out of pure choice or taking the best of what they could use, they did this very well because this game sticks out. And let me break it down a little bit more. For example, take a look at this small section of the club, the second floor. Now, on my third try, I found an alternative route. I climbed up a ladder, had to deal with the mirror, that's all I'm going to say about that, and I entered this hallway, and as soon as I get here, the camera angle changes, and all of a sudden, it's feeling a bit claustrophobic. Bright orange lights from the laser gate is illuminating this small place. It's just basking in it, and on the wall are these markings. Someone probably got trapped in here, and these markings are numbers to tell everybody how long they've been stuck in this hallway because, did I say this before? There is a laser door at the end of this hallway. And at the end of this hallway, past the laser door, there's another part of the club, and on the wall you can see an old photo of what looks like to be some workers from a time that has long gone. And this reinforces what I said before. Your mission, your allies, enemies, it plays a background role to the real star, and that is the club itself. There are little clues that might lead you to understand it better. A club with a long history that it wants to preserve. The visuals kind of remind me of some old acid jazz album covers. It's been a while since I've been in a vinyl store, but the last time I saw some of them, and that's what it reminded me of. And now I have the sudden urge to listen to 10 hours of acid jazz. If I had to use one word to describe this game, it's off kilter. We're talking about a club of agendas, even down to the person that takes your jacket. I mean, this is a club that uses laser doors for protection. A club with quirky guards that will spontaneously dance with you 1 minute and then the next minute help throw you into the void. And I'm not kidding, I mean the void. And this club is probably a living entity because the laser doors give that away, because literally in the first 15 minutes, they're sizing you up about your musical knowledge. This is a world where there's pizza slave sweatshops and secret agents that use unicycles. Unicycles. This has to be some form of purgatory. In the middle of all this, you have to play detective, gather clues, not blow your cover, and somehow outsmart Big Mo, the antagonist, at the end of it all. Betrayal at Club Low's greatest strength is how it plays with your emotions. It really knows how to invoke them. There is something about a dice roll in the right or wrong scenario, with the right or wrong situations. It just hits you like nothing else. Trying to juggle everything like glee, joy, happiness, with dread, an adrenaline rush, fear, panic, anxiety. Knowing that with one wrong move, everything can go crashing, and with one right move, you might be able to get some of it back, but knowing that the risk versus reward factor is always there and there is always a danger, It's like you're juggling all these emotions like they're fucking hand grenades. At first glance, this game seems pretty simple, but you would be mistaken because there are many things to consider. You have conditions, good and bad. You have the pizza maker, which lets you customize some of your rolls with things you pick up. And don't forget, whoever you're rolling against has their own set of conditions as well. And that's what it's all about. Risk or reward. It's not just a simple dice game. Multiple factors play into each roll, and I mean each. You have to make money to upgrade stats. But during each roll, you have to worry about a tie versus a win, and this is something that involves a lot more strategy than you might think. Of course, nobody wants to lose, and we want to win at everything, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you have to make do with a tie, and this goes back to what we talked about, deceptively dangerous, because at first glance, sure, a tie seems like a win because you got past the scenario. That's the whole point. But with a tie, you get less money, and sometimes it comes with a negative condition that hits you right in the stats that you invested in the most. So in the long run, it's a loss that crept in slowly, and it hits you later. It's the illusion of success after more effort, after more time put in. So with the tie, you're dealing with that or winning by the skin of your teeth. Barely winning. And there were times where a tie got me through one part, but it ended that playthrough later on. For example, during one of my runs, I foolishly took on a roll, and I barely made it out with a tie. I was only happy for 20 minutes because later on, I needed to use my observation skill to get something out of a trash can. It was so enticing. I didn't know it was in there, I just know I wanted it. It could be a clue that helps me get into the garage, or helps me figure out a secret code so I can tell someone else later to gain favor, to gain another clue about passcodes and things like that. It could be a multiplier, or some money, or something that really helps me out with customizing my pizza, or just something right there like a couple of dollars or something. But the problem was I had a negative condition from that tie I got earlier, which gave me a negative dice roll, and all it took was -1 to fuck me over. Just one negative point that took everything away. And because of that personal vendetta that I had with the door, just because of one door that I risked a tie just to get past, just so I could say I did it. That one door in the kitchen that messed up the whole run for me. And as we talked about before, risk versus reward. In another playthrough, a risk actually benefited me because there was this laser door that I never liked. I don't like laser doors. It's fucking offensive. So I decided to take that illusion of security down in this playthrough. And thanks to that, it really saved me at the end because I was rolling against someone that had a 10, and that's dangerous. But thanks to my successful encounter with that laser door I took down earlier, I had a positive condition, and thanks to that extra help that helped me get a higher dice roll, I got some extra cash and an extra positive condition. I call it buffs, I call it conditions. My words mix up sometimes, but thanks to that, I got some extra cash and an extra positive condition that literally saved my ass during the final roll of that playthrough by helping my music skill, a skill that wasn't that great to begin with. And that's one piece of the puzzle of how you consider all your moves and how it affects your future. And just that alone shows you the depth of Betrayal at Club Low, but I have more. I have a question for you. Is a win truly a win if you barely gain anything out of it? There were times where I thought I got a clean win, but that wasn't the fact. Because yes, I was a couple of points above and I did get through the part, but time was running out. I was almost at the end of the game, or there was just certain things that I needed that I didn't have yet, like currency or clues or just somewhere, just awareness or something. And that winning roll that I thought was just a clean win, that I got something out of it, I come to find out it was almost like a loss, because the secondary dice in those wins had nothing. They might have had extra stress or heart when I was already full, or I got that buff that let me reroll an opponent's dice when I didn't need it. I needed it a whole bunch of times, but the one time that I didn't need it, it pops up. Reevaluating that so-called win, it was almost like a tie, because what I needed at that time was a win and some extra cash, or the multiplier to do 2 times 4 so I can get $8. $8 goes a long way in Betrayal at Club Low. It's just one of those places. so I can level some stats up. But I got nothing out of that win. I just got past the situation, and sure, that's great, but it's almost like a tie, and it was because something I did right before the roll that made the end game harder for me. I didn't have many situations left. I was almost at the end game. It was almost time to figure out what ending I would get, and I wasn't as bulletproof as I thought I was. So the clock is ticking. And right there I figure out the mistake that I made that messed me up. The mistake that I made that made the game harder. When there wasn't many opportunities to get more money. You come face to face with Destiny. You come face to face with the Juggernaut. You come face to face with the Leviathan that will determine your ending. And I was trying to go for a better ending than what I got last time. I wasn't trying to get fucked over or lose or something else. But I'm already at the end of the run. So what was this action that messed me up? Well, when you're customizing your pizza for the extra rolls to get what bonuses, buffs you can get, I took out a cash or cash multiplier and replaced it with the buff that lets you roll your opponent's dice, which comes in handy. I really needed them, and I thought that I needed them more than cash, but all the times that I needed it, and the one roll where I didn't need to re-roll my opponent's dice, as convenient and as helpful as it can be, I didn't need it that time. It shows up. So those are the things that you got to think about. Customizing your pizzas, the multipliers, the buffs, whatever you want to call them, and using them is equally important as winning. It's about that tension, the part of the game where you have little money, so you need to get past this area, and you can't upgrade the dice, so you gotta put whatever you can into adding 1 point into one side of the fucking dice, and you roll up against someone that can roll a 9 or 10, and the other side of the dice are like 7, and you're hoping on that 1, 7, or 8 that you have on the side of the dice to favor you, and you'll probably lose. You're playing to decimate, to obliterate, not to barely get by and run around with a lot of negative effects on you because you go for ties or you go for just almost impossible rolls because you like to take risk and you lose. But also, that's part of the fun too. Taking that roll and hoping that fortune favors you, that even if you only have a 3 or a 4 and you're rolling against someone that could do 6s or 7s, that somehow it lands on a 2 or a 3 or whatever, and you get past it. And you know what else is a piece of that pie? Conditions. This is your lifeline. Don't stack up those negative ones. Do your best to get rid of them. And the positive conditions, they go away, so treat them better than gold. Betrayal at Club Low is an intense, delicate juggling act between sacrificing, gaining, status effects, different scenarios, different endings, and learning sometimes you can't roll the dice. No matter how addicting it can be, no matter how much it calls you, you can't roll it. Now, if you're familiar with role-playing games, roguelikes, all of this are things that you're familiar with. Different status effects, different endings, sacrificing, gaining. But unlike a lot of other games, Betrayal at Club Low has enticed me to risk, has enticed me to take chances, unlike a lot of other games. And to me, that's one of the biggest charms about it. That's just one of the biggest things that makes this game fucking beautiful at the end of the day. On surface, to a lot of people, it's going to seem very simple, but it's not. It's very intense. There's moments that had me sweating, had me wanting to just save and not play for a couple days because I'm sitting there thinking. It's one of the few games that actually got me to take out a notebook and start writing stuff down just to figure that out, like it was 1988. And you're playing one of those old school dungeon crawlers where there was no map, you had to draw it and figure it out for yourself. I've seen certain examples for that in the last couple of years, and it's very impressive. Everything I just said, take that and times it by 100, and that is Iron Pizza mode, which is Betrayal at Club Low's version of Iron Man mode. If you play role-playing games or roguelikes, you're familiar with that. No save scumming, no using all the save slots, no redos, one life. If you die, it's over, you gotta try again, right from the beginning. And every other mode is just training, it's just practice for this mode, and it is certainly an experience. So as I said before, the surface, it may seem simple, and maybe that's intentional, but when you get drawn in, it's a fucking experience. Now, I do have some small issues with the game. My main one is I would like to interact with more people, more objects, and some other things. For example, the line in front. You move past them quickly. I would like to see more interaction with each of them and get more background on some of the guards and some of the, let's say, different type of inanimate objects. Let's leave it at that. And I felt two of the endings, there's multiple endings, I felt two of them just too short. Now, at first, this game might seem like a mindfuck what's going on, but as you play it, as you do multiple playthroughs, because this is a dense game. It may be one scenario, there may be one situation in it. You're just in a club, that's it. But it's pretty dense, and there's a lot of things going on. So trust me, as you delve into this mindfuck, you'll understand it. But still, felt that two of the endings were just too short. The developer of Betrayal at Club Low, Cosmo D Studios, they call this game deceptively dangerous. I mentioned it before and I'm going to say it again. That is true. It was dangerous to my free time. I wasn't expecting to become engrossed in this. And I will admit, at first glance, it was an ignorant, it was a dumb judgment because I thought this was going to be, like I said before, overly memey, stupid tryhard shit. But it's not. And it reminds me to not judge something, to not make my final decision off a quick glance. Because quick glances, it can be ignorant. It can be stupid. You could be having a bad day. You could just want to shit on something. You could just make a bad judgment and error of something that you might actually enjoy. That's why if there is even a slight bit of interest, and you can, go for it. Because what I discovered is something that I love. I definitely recommend Betrayal at Club Low. I have to learn more about tabletop role-playing games. Thank you for watching. It's been a while. I said 2024 was the year that I want to make a comeback, and in order for a comeback to happen, I have to put out more videos, and I'm certainly working on that. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you waiting and putting up with me for this long. Information's in the description. Have a great day.